Are we rolling? Good. Hey, sorry we're late. Hi, everybody. Adrian Fontes, Arizona Secretary of State. I was reviewing a script for another video that I'm going to shoot, and I looked at my watch and I'm like, oh no, we're late. So real quick, voting for the Arizona America 250 Commission's logo for our celebration of the semi-quincentennial, the 250th anniversary of the independence of the United States of America. That logo contest is wrapping up in, what is today, the 6th, in 6 days. December 12th is going to be your last day to vote. We've got several thousand votes already in the bucket. Go to azsos.gov. Again, azsos.gov. It'll be one of the big banners at the top of the website. Click on there. Get to voting. Again, azsos.gov. Tell your friends. Tell your family. The logo contest is great. There's 10 amazing logos. Some of them are kind of similar. Some are cool. We did a show reviewing them back. So that's on its way up. Election stuff. The Electoral College is going to be convening here in Arizona on December the 17th at 10 a.m. We're going to be streaming it on our YouTube channel. And so the Electoral College is going to be moving forward as planned. We get to host it. And once all of those folks are sworn and the electors are assigned formally here in Arizona, then we will transmit everything to Washington, D.C., and they will be received, and the Electoral College does its thing over on the East Coast. On the Electoral College, before I get to the next step, is a point I want to make, because a lot of people don't like the Electoral College. They think that the popular vote should be the way that we elect our president, because that's the way we elect every other officer in the United States of America. And one of the arguments is that it's unfair to states because, for example, like in Wyoming, electors represent way fewer people than they do for California. California's got 53, 54, 55, something like that. And they have huge numbers of people. And those two senators represent just as many senators as in Montana or Wyoming, it's an interesting argument. And it's something that people have been talking about for a long time in the country. In fact, there's a movement. I'm going to show you a book about the movement regarding the national popular vote, which is an option to the Electoral College. Now, I'm only bringing this out because it's a giant state-based by state plan that was sent to my office by someone who wants me to have this. And I thought I would share it because we don't often get to share with the public a lot of the little things that we get here in the office sometimes. This has several authors. It's the 5th edition. It's the 4th printing. And basically, the national popular vote would do this. You would create almost a treaty, right? It's called an interstate compact between enough states where combined they would have 270 electoral college votes. And among them, they would agree that regardless of how their state went, that they would assign their electors to the winning popular vote getter in the presidential contest. Now, you can do that because states get to decide how they pick their electors. That's not assigned in the Constitution. The federal Constitution says there's electors and the Electoral College meets and all this stuff, but how you pick your electors is up to the states. So if enough states decide that they're going to give up their own popular vote in favor of the national popular vote, then the national popular vote compact would reign and the Electoral College would basically be moot at that point, even though we would still go through the process to formally assign the presidency to whoever those electors went to. It's a little bit complicated, but I think it's a really interesting conversation for folks to have. I'm kind of 6 of one, half dozen on it the other right now. Haven't had a chance to finish reading the book with all of the arguments but it's an interesting concept, and it's one of the examples of how our democracy is dynamic. Things shift and change, and that's the way we have done this for a long time. Our federal republic gives some power to the states and retains some power in the federal government. And so things move and change all the time. So the Electoral College, again, December 17th at 10 a.m. You can stream that here live on our YouTube channel. Now, here's a bit of fun to go along with that nerdiness. America 250, we talked about the logo contest. I want to congratulate the Craft Brewers Guild. Now, the Craft Brewers Guild in Arizona represents well over 100 craft breweries here in the Grand Canyon State. But we don't just have them helping us out to make sure that our celebration of the semi-quincentennial, the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, is cheerful but also safe. So the Craft Brewers Association is working with the America 250 Commission for the state of Arizona to make sure that we can have some fun stuff. And one of the fun things we're going to do is not just get together with the brewers, we're hoping to get together with the wineries and the distilleries and create, as part of our project, a Cheers 250 portion of the app that the commission will eventually be putting out. And that Cheers 250 portion is going to give a whole list of breweries and wineries and distilleries. And there's even a sake brewery in Holbrook, Arizona. By the way, shout out to the folks up there in Holbrook. It is one of the best sakes in the world. It's called Arizona Sake. I highly recommend it if you're into that sort of thing. Phenomenal. And it's only available at a few restaurants in the Phoenix area, but they do have it at the Total Wine and More up in Prescott. So if you're in Prescott, grab some of that Arizona sake. I think they have it up in Flagstaff too. So anyway, on one sad note, the Craft Brewers Guild lost one of their key folks, and he was the guy who was a giant in the brewing community. Anthony Canicia has passed away. He was with Santan Brewing, and we mourn his loss. But he was the founder out there, and the whole beer-consuming family of Arizona is a little bit sad by that. So shout out to Santan and the whole family up there. Our sympathies are with you. But we will continue to make great beer here in Arizona and celebrate. I feel like I'm doing a commercial for the Craft Brewers Guild right now, which is okay because they deserve it. These are folks who do about $1 billion worth of business here in Arizona, if not more, and they employ a ton of people. So it's all local stuff, and that's great. Okay, to the book of the week. Today's book has a very dramatic subtitle. It's called "The Story That Stands Like a Dam," Glen Canyon and the Struggle for the Soul of the West. Very dramatic story. Very dramatic title anyway, written by Russell Martin. Glen Canyon and the Glen Canyon Dam are part of the network of water infrastructure that help Arizona continue to move forward and to develop, like the Central Arizona Project coming off the Colorado, the Salt River Project and its network of dams, and coming off of the Verde River and the Salt River basins. The Glen Canyon Dam is one part of the greater network across the whole state. And let me tell you something, folks. I'm going to be saying this later today to some CEOs at a luncheon. Arizona doesn't have a water shortage problem. We have a water management issue. We've got to stop managing our water like we were doing it 50 years ago, 75 years ago, and we've got to start managing for the newer economy. We've got plenty of water. We just got to use it a little bit differently. And I think that's the big deal here. So for folks who are considering Arizona as like, oh no, they're running out of water. We're not running out of water. We just need to adjust the way we manage things. And I think folks who are thinking about investing in the state of Arizona should understand that we've got a lot of smart people here who want to solve these problems. And they're really not huge problems yet. We're getting there. But if we can manage a little bit better, I think we're going to be in great shape. In any event, the Glen Canyon Dam was dedicated in 1966. It still stands, and it is still doing a lot of great work for us. And so get a hold of this one, The Story That Stands Like a Dam, this story of the Glen Canyon Dam. And it was published by Henry Holt, I think, was the publisher. Anyway, State Library sent that to us. So get a hold of that one. Now, to some questions. Do we have anything online yet?
No, sir.
No? Nobody's revealed what where the backdrop is for today? No, we're standing up here in the cold. I hear it's cold looking.
It looks like Page or something like that, sir.
Or something like that?
It's somewhere up north.
We're supposed to let them guess. I don't know. Do you know,
I don't
Michaela?
know I don't know where it is.
You don't know where it is either? You just picked something pretty that looks Arizona?
Yep.
All right. Well, then, no guessing today because we can't verify one way or the other. Okay, some of the questions that we've had submitted. What does the SOS office do when there are no elections going on? Well, we prepare for the next elections, which we're actually already doing. This is a really, really good question because it assumes that all we do is election stuff during election time. No, elections run all the time. As a matter of fact, let's go back to just a few months prior to the election. We had a primary election. And about a month and a half, maybe 2 months before that, we had signature deadlines for all the petition challenges, and we had millions of signatures that we had to verify. And just before that, we had candidates turning stuff in. And just before that, we had a whole bunch of stuff happening during the legislative session. And just before that, we were training elections officials in how to communicate through emergency systems and all these other things. And then just before that, in the year prior, we were developing the elections procedures manual and having a series of meetings with stakeholders. And we continue to do all kinds of work in the election background space, but we've also got a business services division. We've also got the libraries and archives. And so this office is very busy all the time. We're just that much busier during the actual election season that most people recognize. So we do operate all the time. We've got some great folks that are dedicated all year long. And I'll tell you one quick little story about the 2024 election, which, by the way, kudos to all the elections officials out there, all the people who work the election. And I should have said this at the top. Let me give you a great example of how our training really paid off and how Arizona's voters won because of this one portion of our training. And we did a whole bunch of it that went well. In 2024, on Election Day, as most people know, there were several bomb threats across the state, well over a dozen bomb threats across the state of Arizona. But because of the nature of our communication and the way we trained into working together across the state, not just among local elections officials, kind of navel gazing, we looked up, we saw local law enforcement agencies, state law enforcement agencies, federal law enforcement agencies, and the greater communication within all of those folks who were doing threat assessments and so forth. We determined how serious those threats were. We figured out when they were coming in. Everybody knew who to talk to immediately because of the training, and almost no disruptions happened to our elections across the state of Arizona. Think about that. You know how everybody was like, well, this election, not much happened? We had over a dozen bomb threats across the state of Arizona in 2024, but because we trained so well and we handled it so well, it seems like everything went really well. And I will tell you, there were some very stressful moments on Election Day in 2024, right? I'm not losing my hair just because. There were some very stressful moments, and we handled them well across the entire state. And that's because we had great training, building great partnerships and great communication. That took a lot of time, and it took a whole bunch of folks working well together. So kudos to all of the folks who did not just that, but all of the rest of it so well in 2024. Want to make sure that folks get recognized for that. Okay, the last question is the state library and the archives open to the public? The answer is yes. The state library and archives are open to the public, but in a limited way. We've got a lot of researchers, we've got a lot of folks, not just in the library and the archives, who serve state government, because it's kind of a library for state government, not really a public library, but it is open to the public insofar as the information therein is available. So contact the state library, contact the state archives. They've got a lot of amazing things that are there, and we want to make sure that the history and heritage of the state of Arizona isn't just preserved and protected, but is put out there. It is shared in the right way for folks who want to make sure to be able to capitalize on those great resources that we have in there. So let me give you a for example. For small business and the archives to work together. Let's say you've got a building that you're going to be bringing a business into, and you're like, gosh, this building's been around this town for a long time. I wonder what it used to look like. What was the color of the building? What did the architecture, what did the facade look like? What sorts of things should we look for? The library and the archives might be able to help you find old photographs of the area where you could see what the building used to look like. So if you want to preserve some of that history and heritage as a business owner to kind of make it more attractive and more authentic, you can do that, and that information is something. That's just one little example of how valuable this space is. It is open to the public on a limited basis, but we do want that information to get out there. So definitely contact the state library and archives if you want any of that information. I didn't notice this cup. Is this the Christmas cup? Yeah. Christmas tree cup? So this Christmas tree cup is a little squished like the air-filled Christmas tree that was supposed to be outside of my office, and the pump doesn't work well because it's so loud. So the air pump, they turned it off, and so there's this green-looking garbage bag outside of my office door that's going to go away today, and we're just going to kind of don't do this for today. My name's Adrian Fontes. I'm your Secretary of State right here in the Grand Canyon State, State 48, one of the best places to live and work and raise a family, Arizona. Thank you so much for being with us today. We will catch you next Friday on Fridays with Fun. Oh, actually, wait a minute. We're off next Friday.
Yeah.
We're off next Friday. So have a great holiday prep week next week. Best to you. Stay safe. And even though it's the wintertime, watch your kids around water. Thanks.